Welcome to today's deep dive, tailored specifically for you.
Huh.
Usually we have this massive stack of articles or, a whole book to get through.
Right, like mountains of data.
Yeah, exactly. But
Right.
today we just have one single, incredibly provocative fragment of text. It's literally just 12 words long.
Just 12 words? It's wild.
It really is. It's translated from a Chinese text. And, well, those 12 words basically attempt to completely rewrite our entire place in the universe.
Yeah, it's no small claim.
Not at all. So the premise we're unpacking for you today is a title, or like a thesis statement, that just reads, and I'm quoting here, "Evidence that the Earth is managed by higher life forms by Su Feng."
Or in the original Chinese, 苏
And just to be clear right up front, our mission today is not to sit here and debate the literal truth of that claim.
No, not at all.
We are just using this as a really fascinating thought experiment. We're going to deconstruct the exact phrasing and see what a premise like this actually implies about our reality.
Because honestly, the architecture of that claim is just aggressively disruptive. I mean, it establishes this entirely alternate worldview before it even presents a single piece of data.
Yeah, it really does.
And when you analyze a premise of this magnitude, the most striking element isn't just the conclusion it reaches, but the methodology it demands. It doesn't ask you for blind belief.
Right. It uses that word.
Exactly. By opening with the word evidence, it's demanding an empirical audit of reality.
See, and I actually struggle with that word right out of the gate. Evidence.
Really? How come?
Well, I mean, if these entities are so highly advanced that they can manage an entire planet's ecosystem, the weather, human history, and all of it,
Yeah.
wouldn't they also be advanced enough to hide their tracks completely? I mean, it feels almost, I don't know, anthropomorphic to assume a cosmic manager just leaves behind a trail of breadcrumbs for us.
That's a fair point.
Like, think about a chimpanzee in a wildlife sanctuary.
Yeah.
It doesn't look at a hidden motion sensor camera and think, yes, evidence of a human primatologist.
Right. To the chimp, it's just a weird rock.
Exactly. It's just a weird rock. So how could we possibly process evidence of this, higher dimension of management?
Well, the chimpanzee analogy actually highlights the exact friction of this thought experiment, because you're assuming the managers are trying to remain perfectly hidden, or that their tech is just entirely imperceptible to the managed asset.
Are you saying they are?
Not necessarily. Evidence of management doesn't mean finding, like, a forgotten cosmic wrench floating in the atmosphere.
Right, like a giant glowing tool.
Yeah, no. It means looking for localized anomalies. Things that defy the natural, unguided progression of physics or evolution. Because if a system is actively managed, the intervention itself leaves a footprint, right? A thermodynamic or structural footprint.
Okay, wait, I'm following. You mean example?
Sure, so let's go back to your primatologist. When they tranquilize a lion to tag it, the lion obviously doesn't understand the concept of a satellite tracker.
Right.
But it does experience the unexplained loss of time. It feels the physical puncture wound. It notices the unnatural addition of the collar around its neck.
Oh, wow, okay. So the evidence wouldn't be a signed document from the universe saying, we were here.
Yeah.
It would be the inexplicable punctures, the unnatural leaps.
Exactly. It forces you to completely re-examine what we consider natural phenomena. Because in a purely random universe, one governed by blind physical laws, complexity just arises through slow, undirected chance. But the claim of evidence suggests that if you look closely enough at the fossil record or mathematical constants or human consciousness, you'll find a signature.
A signature of what?
A deliberate narrowing of probabilities. It implies that the universe, or at least our Earth, has a paper trail of intentionality.
That is just wild to think about. Because stepping into the arena of empiricism like that, it totally changes our historical relationship with the unknown.
Oh, fundamentally.
Right. Because for millennia, humanity's relationship with cosmic order has been rooted entirely in faith. And faith, by definition, requires an absence of definitive proof.
Right, it's belief despite the lack of physical evidence.
Yeah. So by framing this as a search for evidence, this premise is aggressively secularizing the mystery of existence.
It really is. It strips away the mysticism entirely, because when a theological framework demands faith, it essentially makes the creator immune to scientific scrutiny.
You can't put a supernatural deity under a microscope.
Exactly. You just can't. But the moment someone claims to possess evidence of planetary management, they are pulling the curtain back. They're subjecting the cosmos to the scientific method.
Wow.
They're stating that the forces steering our planet operate within a framework that humans can actually observe, measure, and logically deduce.
Which means those forces aren't just sitting outside of time and space watching us.
Yeah.
If there's measurable evidence, it implies they are interacting with the physical world right now.
Yes, actively interacting.
Because, a creator can build a universe, wind it up like a giant clock, and just walk away.
Yeah.
That's the classic Enlightenment idea, right? The clockmaker god.
The deist philosophy. Yeah.
Right. But this text doesn't say the Earth was created by higher life forms. It specifically says the Earth is managed.
And that linguistic shift from creation to management is massive. It fundamentally alters the relationship between humanity and the cosmos.
How so?
Well, a created world only requires intervention once at the moment of Genesis, but a managed world, that requires ongoing, continuous oversight.
Yeah.
Management is an active, sustained verb. It implies constant observation, maintenance, course correction, and resource allocation.
Okay, let's unpack that. It's like the difference between building a sealed terrarium and leaving it on a windowsill forever versus actively opening it up. Pruning the leaves, adjusting the humidity, weeding the soil.
Yes.
And maybe, I don't know, introducing a new species of predatory beetle to keep the aphid population from getting out of control.
That is a perfect analogy. And think about the aphids in that terrarium. Okay.
They don't perceive the introduction of those beetles as a calculated management strategy to save the ecosystem.
Oh, no. To them, it's just the apocalypse.
Exactly. It's a random, terrifying disaster. And that drastically reframes how we have to view human history. If Earth is a managed system, you have to look at historical shifts, mass extinctions, or even sudden technological leaps through a completely different lens.
So if you're listening to this on your commute right now, think about a massive traffic jam.
Yeah.
In a random, chaotic universe, it's just bad luck. Too many cars, a storm, maybe a bridge failed. But in a managed universe, you really have to ask, is this traffic jam a deliberate, localized friction designed to delay certain variables?
Wow.
Is a sudden climate shift just the cosmic manager adjusting the thermostat of the terrarium?
And you are touching on the terrifying nature of being a managed asset right there.
Terrifying.
Well, yeah. Think about when the Forest Service intentionally starts a controlled burn. The ants and rodents living in that forest experience a total cataclysm. Their entire reality is destroyed.
Right. But to the forest manager, the fire is just a routine maintenance protocol. It prevents a larger wildfire, promotes new soil growth. The manager operates on a scale of time and priority that is entirely alien to the entities inside the system.
Man, that really makes me wonder about the concept of free will.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if we are being managed, are we basically just employees who don't know we're on the clock? Like, we think we're making independent choices, building cities, writing laws, inventing AI.
Yeah.
But if the parameters are already set, our free will might just be an illusion operating inside a very strictly defined sandbox.
Well, and that's the thing. Management doesn't inherently negate free will at the individual level. It merely constrains the collective outcome.
Okay, explain that.
So a manager might establish the environment, define the rules of physics and biology, and then just let the assets humanity figure out the day-to-day operations.
I see.
You have the free will to walk around inside the terrarium. Do whatever you want. But you cannot break the glass. And if the entire colony starts moving in a direction that threatens the management's objective...
Then a course correction happens.
Exactly. A course correction is implemented.
Which implies the managers actually have an objective. I mean, you don't manage something just to watch it sit there.
Right.
You manage a hedge fund to generate profit. You manage a farm to harvest crops. You manage a server to keep it running. If Earth is being managed, it has to have a purpose. We're producing something or preserving something.
And that necessity of an objective leads us directly to the nature of the entities doing the managing. The text makes a really highly deliberate semantic choice here.
What's that?
It doesn't claim Earth is managed by God. It deliberately avoids terms like angels, spirits, or demons. It explicitly states that the management is conducted by higher life forms.
Right. And that phrasing, higher life forms, it feels incredibly clinical to me.
Yes.
It sounds biological or even technological. It takes the whole concept of these managers and places them firmly inside the realm of science fiction, rather than a religious text.
It is a profound departure from traditional theology, because when you use the word God, you drag thousands of years of human cultural baggage into the conversation.
Oh, for sure. Morality, sin, all of it.
Right. You invoke concepts of inherent moral goodness, divine judgment, and the requirement of worship. But higher life forms, that is an evolutionary designation.
Interesting.
It's a hierarchical term based entirely on complexity, capability, and scale, rather than any kind of moral superiority or divine right.
It's just a difference in scale, kind of like humans managing a colony of honeybees.
Exactly.
We aren't gods to the bees. We're just a higher life form that happens to know how to build wooden boxes, synthesize smoke, and extract honey. The bees have zero concept of our economic systems or our, like, philosophical anxieties.
Right, they don't care about our stock market.
They just know that sometimes the sky opens up, these big shapes take their food, and they have to start rebuilding.
The bee analogy is critical here because it highlights the moral neutrality of management.
Moral neutrality.
Yeah. Humans don't harvest honey because we hate the bees, nor do we do it because we have some divine, pure love for them.
Right, we just want the honey.
Exactly. We desire the resource they produce, and we manage their environment to optimize that production. By categorizing the overseers of Earth as higher life forms, the premise suggests entities that are still very much part of a natural physical order.
Meaning they have their own limitations. They aren't omnipotent.
Precisely the implication. A higher life form is still a life form.
Right.
They might be millions of years older than us, vastly more intelligent, maybe possessing tech that looks like magic to us, but they are still subject to their own laws of physics or their own dimensional constraints.
Wow.
And crucially, because they are life forms managing a complex system, they are perfectly capable of making mistakes.
Wait. A mismanaged Earth.
Yes. If the management is biological or technological rather than infallible and divine, then bad management is absolutely a possibility.
Oh my gosh.
Perhaps certain historical dark ages or massive ecological collapses weren't calculated controlled burns at all. Maybe they were simply administrative errors.
Are you serious?
The dropped vial, a miscalculated algorithm, a cosmic manager literally just falling asleep at the wheel.
That is simultaneously hilarious and utterly horrifying. Just the idea that the Black Plague or the Bronze Age collapse was just a clerical error in the cosmic back office.
Oops, deleted the wrong file.
Exactly. But, this brings me back to the idea of the zoo hypothesis. Astronomers bring this up a lot when they talk about the Fermi paradox.
Right, the answer to why we haven't seen aliens.
Yeah. The idea is that aliens do exist, but they're basically treating Earth like a protected wilderness area. They observe us, but they have a strict, like, Star Trek non-interference directive.
Well, the zoo hypothesis is a passive model of observation, but the text we are analyzing today posits an active model.
Okay, what's the difference?
A zoo requires feeding the animals and cleaning the cages. A managed Earth suggests our very evolutionary pathway was cultivated.
Oh, I see.
This aligns much more closely with concepts like directed panspermia, the idea that the seeds of life were intentionally distributed across the universe, or even aspects of simulation theory.
Oh, simulation theory, where the parameters of reality are actively coded and patched by some higher intelligence.
Exactly.
And simulation theory actually provides a perfect modern framework for that word evidence we were talking about earlier.
How so?
Well, if we live in a coded reality managed by higher dimensional programmers, the evidence wouldn't be a physical object, right? It would be a glitch.
A glitch in the matrix.
Like the double-slit experiment in quantum mechanics, where particles behave entirely differently simply because they're being observed.
Which is wild.
It is. It sounds suspiciously like a video game rendering engine-saving computational power until a player actually looks in that direction.
And bringing simulation theory into the fold really perfectly illustrates how human language adapts to describe this cosmic hierarchy over time.
What do you mean?
Well, 1,000 years ago, a managed reality was described through the language of pantheons and warring gods. Today, we describe it through the language of code, servers, and developers.
Right.
But the underlying psychological structure is identical. It's the assertion that humanity is just not at the top of the organizational chart.
Which brings us to the most human element of this entire thought experiment, I think. The person who actually put their name at the end of the sentence.
Yes, Shufeng.
Yeah. We don't have any biographical context for the author in our source material, but just the act of making this statement requires a pretty fascinating level of cognitive audacity.
It really does. The authorial presence transforms the text from just a passing thought into a formal declaration.
Yeah.
By claiming to possess or point to evidence of this massive cosmic hierarchy, Shufeng positions themselves as a self-appointed auditor of reality.
See, and I look at the absolute chaos of the world today. The unpredictable wars, the volatile markets, the arbitrary nature of disease, just the sheer noise of 8 billion people trying to survive.
It's a lot.
It is, and I find it staggeringly arrogant for anyone to stand up and declare, I see the management structure, I have the corporate handbook.
It's a bold move.
Isn't this just a classic case of pareidolia? Where the human brain is just hardwired to find patterns, even in totally random noise.
Like seeing faces in the clouds.
Exactly. We see constellations and scattered stars. We're desperate to find a manager because the alternative, that literally no one is driving the bus, is just too terrifying to accept.
The psychological drive to identify a manager is undeniably powerful, I'll give you that. Honestly, a cruel or indifferent manager is often psychologically preferable to an empty room.
That's dark, but yeah.
Because if there is a manager, there are rules. And if there are rules, they can theoretically be understood, navigated, or appeased. But dismissing the premise entirely as just a psychological coping mechanism, I think that ignores the value of the thought experiment itself.
Fair point.
Whether the author is experiencing pareidolia or genuine insight, the framework they've proposed forces us to evaluate our environment rigorously.
It demands that we stop taking our reality for granted.
Exactly. It requires you to look at the structures of biology, the recurring cycles of history, the bizarre fine-tuning of the universe's physical constants, and actually ask whether they're the result of compounding accidents or intentional design.
Right.
The auditor's claim invites you to do your own audit.
And it completely flips the script on how you process your daily life. Like, think about how this changes your perspective as you move through the world today.
Oh, totally.
If you view the universe as random chaos, you react to events purely with a sense of survival and mitigation. If you view the world as a forgotten, abandoned creation, you might experience this profound sense of isolation or nihilism.
But navigating your day under the assumption of an actively managed system, that turns you into an active observer of friction and flow.
Yeah.
You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is the function of this event within the larger system? It shifts your focus entirely from personal grievance to systemic analysis.
I love that. And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. Let's just fully commit to the thought experiment for a second. Let's assume this 12-word premise holds true.
Okay, Earth is actively managed by higher life forms.
Yes, and the evidence of their intervention is woven directly into the fabric of our reality. If Earth is a managed project, well, what are the key performance indicators?
The KPIs, evaluating the metrics of planetary success.
Right. What does a successful Tuesday look like to the cosmic middle managers? If we are the assets in the terrarium, what exactly are we supposed to be producing?
That is the million-dollar question.
Are they optimizing the planet for rapid technological progress, trying to get us to build a superintelligence? Or are they measuring, like, total emotional output?
Oh, like mining human joy, suffering, and conflict as a raw data resource.
Exactly. Or perhaps the metrics are entirely physical. Maybe they are simply trying to keep the carbon cycle balanced and the planetary temperature stable until the next cosmic fiscal quarter.
And in that scenario, humanity is currently viewed as a rogue variable, actively threatening the stability of the primary asset, the Earth itself.
Which is a terrifying performance review to think about.
Very.
So tomorrow, when you're reading the news or you're sitting in traffic or even just watching the complex social dynamics of an anthill on the sidewalk, step into the mindset of the auditor.
Take a look around.
Look out at the bewildering complexity of the world and ask yourself, what is the objective of the project today? And can you spot the evidence of the hands on the steering wheel?